Welcome to the Turbulent Flow pod vlog. I'm Renee, professional engineer, recreational circus performer, and two-time breast cancer alumnus. I think that pretty much kind of sums up sort of the three key things that I end up talking about here. Today's going to be a little bit different because actually I realized that I pretty much haven't talked about the first one very much. The fact that, yes, I am a professional engineer. Most people don't know what an engineer does for a living, and my particular flavor of engineering is extra unusual. So I figured this might be a good opportunity to actually discuss it. I was geeking out about the Artemis moon mission that landed earlier this month, and that wonderful successful mission. I talked about the fact that way back in the day, like I want to say 13 years ago or so, maybe 15, I don't even remember, a while ago. No, it definitely wasn't that long ago. Maybe. Anyway, regardless, whenever Canada had its last astronaut recruitment, I applied to be an astronaut. Some of my friends got a kick out of following me on Facebook. I talked about the process and some of the different things that went on at the time. It was, I never actually expected to get chosen, but I applied because I could. I met the qualifications and made it through the first few rounds. I am pretty sure I made it to my husband and I actually made it to the top 500 potential candidates before we were cut. So we were never actually in any serious contention, but just the fact that we were even considered was pretty amazing. But what I did want to talk about was my actual job. What is it that I do as a professional engineer? Most people don't really understand what engineers do, so I thought maybe I'd explain that a little bit today, because I'm going to be really honest. Like, I suspect a large segment of my own family doesn't know what I actually do for a living. So, step one, I call myself a professional engineer, and because I am in Canada, that actually is something that a person has to be careful to actually use. The term engineer in Canada is legally restricted. People who call themselves engineers actually have to be licensed professional engineers by law. So that is actually one of the reasons why I'm quite proud of that. I actually have a professional engineering license. I have a degree in mechanical engineering and a master's degree in biomechanical engineering, which makes me very unusual in my particular field of expertise, which, I'm going to go into to the best that I can. Part of it is because I've got a work trip coming up, and I'm doing a fair amount of work right now in the field of autonomous mobile robots that seems to be putting me in a lot of situations where I kind of have to explain to people what it is that I do. So I thought I'd get a little bit of practice doing that. Okay, so step one, for those of you who aren't familiar with what engineers do, you've probably heard of it, I'm sure. Engineers, similar to doctors, we are certainly not doctors, but like doctors, we are a profession. So we are a regulated, self-regulated profession where, just like the fact that doctors come in a number of different flavors and specialties, engineers do as well. So not all engineers build bridges or roads or build structural things. That's generally what civil engineers do. Civil engineers usually don't work in factories. That's commonly where you find the mechanical engineers and the chemical engineers and the process engineers. So that's the flavor of engineering that I specialize in. I'm a mechanical engineer. I graduated way back once upon a time. And I actually, I got my engineering degree. I worked as a professional engineer, just a project engineer in factories, a number of different places for about 4 years. And after those 4 years, I went back to school because I wanted to get into what's called machine safety consulting. And that's where my engineering life took an unusual turn, because machine safety is a branch of engineering that actually isn't taught in the schools. It's really a whole other conversation, something that I do actually teach as part of some of the professional development courses that I show. But it's because I was working in a factory and an accident happened. Somebody was hurt, and we realized that we didn't actually know very much about how to make the machines safe. Mechanical engineers are taught an awful lot about how to make machines last, how to make them go faster, how to make them, make the things that we buy in our world. But safety is something that we just kind of assumed that the people selling the machines to us would take care of. And it turns out that that's actually not the case in North America. That was the big surprise to me at the time, and it continues to be a bit of a surprise to people when I'm teaching these professional development courses. In Canada and in the United States, actually, we have very similar laws when it comes to industrial safety. In our countries, it is the employer's responsibility to provide their workers with safe equipment. When they buy machines for their factory, for their manufacturing processes, it is the vendor's responsibility to sell them the machines that they have asked for. So it's not like going to a store and just buying something off the shelf as a member of the public. When we go to stores, as members of the public, here we would go to Canadian Tire, we would buy something like, say, a car seat for a baby. You know that even the cheapest car seat that is for sale at the store is going to meet all the safety regulations. It comes with a big list of things. Same thing goes for any microwaves that you buy at the store, or any tools and equipment. They all come with all of these electrical safety and all the tags that we're all familiar with. That's for consumer goods, things that are sold to the public. When one-of-a-kind manufacturing equipment is sold to industry, it is actually the responsibility of the person buying the machine to make sure that the machine that they are buying is going to be safe for their workers to use. So I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty of it all, but this common issue and misconception is sort of where my entire branch of engineering, where my entire career has been centered around, because my particular specialty is understanding how machines are made safe for workers, what the appropriate standards are that these machines are supposed to meet, and how these particular standards can and should be applied. As I've advanced over the last 30 years as an engineer, I sit on the Industrial Robot Standards Safety Standards Committee. I can't remember it's Canadian Standards Association Standards Committee. I'm a technical member of the CSA Z434. This is the big standard for industrial robots. Anyways, not going to get into that in big detail, but it means that I actually specialize in how to make machines safe. So that would apply to basically any machine that you would find in a manufacturing process. So it could be a machine that's, putting candies into a bag and sealing it up. It could be the machine that actually makes the candies in the first place. It could be a robot that's making parts for cars. It could be, I see a lot of robots. I see a lot of automated equipment. Essentially, over the last 20 plus years, I've had a front row seat to the automation revolution, and it means that I get to go into a wide variety of different places. So basically, My job is to be a safety expert who specializes just in the hazards related to things that move. So moving hazards, robots moving around, making sure that they're not actually going to hurt the people that are working in the same areas as them. It allows me to make the very ongoing joke that my job essentially is to make sure that the robots don't attack anybody. So that side of things is getting really, really interesting at this particular point in time, because I've been specializing in robot safety and industrial safety in general, manufacturing safety, for 25 years, and the robots are changing, which is really, really exciting for me. It's just really exciting for the world. I find it really interesting. The robots are changing. In industrial robotics for the last 2 decades, basically the rules were fairly simple. The robot's over here and the person's over here. We keep the two from being in the same space at the same time. So if a person needs to go into a space, we make sure the robot is not in there. And then when the person leaves, then we allow the robot to go back in. We've gotten very, very good at that. We've developed a lot of techniques over the years in industry on how to actually do that. But now the robots are changing. Now we have things called collaborative applications, where the robots and the workers are meant to, occupy the same space and be in the same space potentially at the same time. We have autonomous mobile robots that are designed to actually move through a facility, much in the way that a lift truck would be transporting parts from one part of the facility to another. Now we have these robots that are designed to basically be like self-driving cars and drive themselves around the place. But the people designing these systems are regular engineers. They're engineers who have not been taught machine safety, because that's not something that's taught in school. So my expertise is to basically go in and help people understand what the rules are, what kind of requirements there are around machine safety. I feel like I'm babbling a little bit on this, and I don't want to bore anybody too much, but this is what I do. This is what I specialize in. It's something that is extremely exciting to me. It's the reason why I've had the opportunity to go into many different places and see a lot of different things. Of course, these are all confidential. These are all things that I will never talk about on a YouTube channel. I will only ever speak about my job, with extreme generalities, or if I'm, if anybody for some reason really wants to learn about functional safety, please know I have, multi-hour training sessions that you can sign up for to learn, to learn all about these things. They are available through my engineering company. Somehow I doubt that, those two worlds are likely to overlap. A 50-something-year-old woman who is mostly vlogging about circus and about breast cancer recovery is not really the most likely place to find an audience that wants to learn more about machine safety in North America. So, needless to say, that's the professional world that I occupy, and as evidenced by the fact that I had breast cancer. Well, yeah, that I'm a 2-time breast cancer alumnus. I am a female person. Breast cancer does happen in men, but it's pretty unusual. So I am a female person, which makes me a little unusual in my particular professional space. There's not that many women in engineering to begin with. And I think, off the top of my head, not even off the top of my head, I absolutely know there is one woman that I can think of who has been doing more or less what I do, has kind of that level of specialty. There's one woman that is older than I am, who has been doing it longer than I am. Her name is Roberta Nelson Shea. She's a lovely human being. I've had a chance to meet her once, but I've been admiring her since I attended a conference that she was speaking at probably 2 decades ago when I first got into machine safety. She's an American. She was the chair of the ANSI R1508 robot standards, industrial robots safety standards committee. She's an incredible woman. I've been admiring her for a very long time. She's an American. Basically, I saw her speak, and I essentially kind of, was like, I want to be the Canadian version of her. And, a couple decades later, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. So yeah, it's one of the other reasons why I can guarantee you 100% this particular vlog, no matter what may happen with it, will always be one, very low quality. I can promise you that this will be a low quality vlog, because essentially I have a full-time job as an engineer that pays my bills. So I'm not looking to top up my earnings in that particular way. But also I have a very serious circus addiction hobby that kind of takes up most of the rest of my free time. So I'm not looking to expand my particular YouTube presence so that I can quit my job and become a full-time influencer. That ain't ever gonna happen. The other thing is that because I am a professional engineer, we have ethical obligations associated with that particular profession. People can and do get killed on machinery, which is why I literally am a safety consultant. The whole point of my job is to try and minimize the chances of that type of thing happening. So because of the very serious ethics around my job, I'm not really looking to combine the two, because I want my hobby and free time life and things that I do for funsies to essentially remain that way to the greatest extent that I can. But I'm a geek at heart, and I really I enjoy the things that I do, and the machines that I get to see, and all the cool robots that I've seen over the decades. I wish I could share them with anybody. It'd be really great. But outside of the people that work for the company that I run, those things do not get shared because they're confidential. So ain't nobody ever gonna see them. But I can tell you more general things about them if you ever want to sit down and have a coffee and geek out about things. But it does mean that not trying to become a YouTube influencer, and I don't love spending buckets of time at my computer. Writing reports is enough time at my computer. Writing reports, answering emails. I'm not looking to spend time editing YouTube videos. So unless somebody else wants to offer to do that, this channel is going to stay the one-shot deal that it is. Low quality, low budget, no feeding the algorithm. That's all I can offer you here. So if you've stuck around and you want to hear any more about those types of things, you want to listen to me geek out about robots, I'm very happy to. The world of industrial safety is one that a lot of people are pretty unfamiliar with. And it's the world that I inhabit, in my 9 to 5, and I find it really fun. But maybe that's just me. Actually, no, that's not true. It's not just me, because I have a whole team of people that work with me, and they're just as geeky as I am. I get to see them on Tuesday too. I'm very, very excited. Looking forward to that. Anyways, like I said, totally rambling. And my computer has now decided to, there we go, just went to sleep. And because this is, like, as always promised, a one-shot deal, I'm gonna have to sign off because somebody just walked in the house. I'll see you soon. Bye.